Track was still wet as the 9 cars came out for pre-qualifying. The Lolas at the head of the field, everyone expecting them to get in, of course. Aguri Suzuki and Eric Bernard. Meanwhile, back in the pits, Bruno Giacomelli had very little hope of getting in with the life. It looked fairly lifeless yet again as the plugs were changed. In fact, Bruno did one slow lap. 45 minutes into the session, it had dried out, the wet weather tyres came off and the slicks went on. At this period, AGS were actually in the race for the first time. Could they hold on to that position? Suzuki was the first out on slicks. He started to warm up the tyres by weaving left and right. And then suddenly the car snapped right, he hit a puddle, slammed into the wall. And Suzuki had had his second major accident of 6 days. Remember, he had a big shunt at Le Mans in the Toyota. Fortunately, he was uninjured and he climbed out of the wreckage, which steamed merrily. Bertrand Gachot trying manfully with the overweight and underpowered Coloni Subaru. A thankless task, and he never looked like getting in the race. But no one could have driven it any quicker than Bert Gachot. Oliver Griard in the Osella, a regular pre-qualifier, but with 5 minutes to go, he still wasn't into the second part of the show. Then Griard really gave it plenty of welly, past the AGS, and now he was the quickest man out on the track. The times tumbling all the time. Suzuki, he got back in the spare car and was putting in a sterling effort. He managed to pre-qualify. There's Suzuki, a little shaken, but unstirred. And here is Griard. Griard definitely on the quickest lap so far. Suzuki, he got back in the spare car and was putting in a sterling effort. He managed to pre-qualify. There's Suzuki, a little shaken, but unstirred. And here is Griard. Griard definitely on the quickest lap so far. That's Suzuki. Here comes Griard. Across the start-finish line. There he is. 1 minute 25.828. Griard in. Roberto Moreno, the last man to go out. The flag comes out. And indeed, Griard went even faster on his very last lap. Griard, top of the list at 125.281. Then it was Bernard, 25.456. Roberto Moreno, third, 26.724 in the Europe run. And fourth, Suzuki, despite the accident, on 127.511. Then it was Dalmas and Tarquini out yet again. Gachot, Langes, who only did 2 laps, and Giacomelli.
We are halfway through qualifying here at Mexico City. This is Alain Prost, definitely on a quick run. Look at those sparks flying out from under the car. Prost currently qualified in 10th spot. William Proust round the Peralta. That bank corner, one of the most fantastic corners in Grand Prix racing. He's got to stop the watches at 119.378. That puts him up to 3rd spot. Bumps Stefano Modena down 1. Let's just recap on the positions. Still, it's Pierluigi Martini in the pole spot, 1 minute 18.526. Nigel Mansell alongside him, 1 minute 19.300. There is Prost, you just saw his quick lap. Then Modena. Mansell goes a little quicker. Then, after Modena, it's Nakajima. Then Derek Warwick, Ayrton Senna. The McLarens really seem to be in trouble. Then Jean Lazy, expect to see more of him. Then Thierry Boutsen, and Alessandro Nannini is currently 10th. And there we have a nice little pirouette from Prost onto the grass. And I think he might have lost the engine. The engine was probably stalled, so in that spin, he's going to have to wait now for the marshals to move the car out of the way. And they're pushing it back. Out of danger, Prost got the seatbelt undone. He's obviously going to get out of his car. Maybe the cause of the spin is the reason that he feels that he wants to make a quick trip back to the pits on foot to pick up what he hopes will be a spare car, but it is Nigel Mansell's for the weekend, so maybe Alain Prost qualifying has ended with 25 minutes left. We're watching Patrese on his first proper qualifying lap on what I imagine will be a set of qualifying tyres. Yes, the 36-year-old from Padua. Man who collects vintage model railway trains and also wristwatches. Got over 40 of those. Father of twins. And what's he going to stop the watch at? 1:18.215. And Patrese, yes, John, you're right. Patrese takes pole position. Ricardo Patrese, and is he still going to go for another quick one?
No, he's not. He's slowing down. He had his one good clean lap. He's got provisional pole position. We've got about 15 minutes left of the session, and I think he'll be quite pleased with himself. Found the clear lap.
There you see now it's Patrese and Martini, two Italians on the front row of the grid. Nigel Mansell, Nelson Piquet, Modena, Prost and Nakajima. It's the closing 10 minutes of qualifying here at Mexico City. Ayrton Senna is out on a fast one. Senna can he bump Ricardo Patrese off pole position. Currently is Patrese on 1:18.215. Little Pierluigi Martini still on the front row of the grid, 1:18.526. Then it's Modena, Berger, Mansell, Piquet, Alesi, Boutsen and Prost. The McLaren Honda package not so effective here at Mexico as it has been for the rest of the season. Are we going to see the true talent of Ayrton Senna? John, this looks like a quick one.
Well, he's certainly making a fairly substantial effort. I'm not quite sure whether this first time lap on his qualifying tyres is going to be his best one. The early part of the lap didn't look quite as quick as it would normally be, but at this point of the circuit he is quick. 1:10 just after the entry to the corner, so I suspect it's going to be a very good lap indeed.
1:18.416. Ayrton Senna goes into second spot. So it is now Patrese and Senna at the top of the list. So you saw a very quick lap from Senna there. Paolo Barilla goes past him. It is Barilla's teammate, Martini, who is still third fastest. Barilla currently in 14th spot. The lap you just saw him complete. Senna meanwhile now cruising. In the last 16 races, Senna has been on the pole on every occasion bar 3. There you see the current positions. Patrese and Senna, Martini and Modena, Berger and Mansell and Piquet. And the change is Gerhard Berger who's now done it. So if McLaren Honda were in trouble, they are no longer. And it is 1:17.227. That is faster than last year's pole position. Berger, Patrese, Senna, Martini, Mansell, Modena, Piquet. And the times changing now regularly in this final 6 or 7 minutes. We didn't see the quick Berger lap. We've seen some very exciting laps indeed from young Jean Alesi. John called them untidy, and Alesi currently in 8th spot. And now we have Nigel Mansell on his quick one.
Yes, that was quick coming through the corner.
There is Mansell. The watch has started. Just check out his previous time. Yeah, that warming up lap Mansell did 1:18.691.
And Nigel, look at the way he's driving over the curbs. He's using every bit of the racetrack, and let him watch him running wide every inch of the track, plus about 1.5 feet of the curbs on the inside and on the edge of the corner. And Nigel here is at his most committed, and that is very, very exciting indeed to watch.
It's playing with that little lever on the steering wheel that changes the 7 gears up and down. The only car with this semi-automatic gearbox. Over 6,000 feet above sea level here as Mansell again pops it over the curve, really trying his head bobbing about in the cockpit. And Nigel Mansell is definitely on a quick one. You can see the stopwatch running. Currently the pole is 1:17.227. 17.227, remember that.
Let's look at this part of the corner. I would say his lap speed at this stage is slightly quicker than Senna's, who is currently second. So let's have a look and see what he's going to do. 1:17.938. Yes, 2 seconds.
Yes, he goes on to the front row of the grid, but he's still Gerhard Berger in the pole. So there, Nigel Mansell up to second spot. Bumps Ricardo Patrese off the front row of the grid. There's confirmation of the top 7. The minute's ticking away. The man with the checkered flag has already mounted the rostrum. So just a couple of minutes left now for whoever else thinks he can put in a quick one to do so. Mansell, that was his 20th lap. You don't often see that many laps in qualifying, but Mansell used race tyres, soft race tyres, to really get up to speed early on in the session. So it's still Berger on 1:17.227, then it's Mansell, then it's Patrese, Senna, Martini, Modena and Alesi. There he is now, back in the pits, Gerhard Berger, taking off his crash helmet.
Gerhard Berger looking slightly pensive. I would have thought he'd been absolutely over the moon with his performance. Between the two races, he and the McLaren trainer went away and had a week's training, and the team pays a lot of attention to the fitness of their drivers, and Gerhard spent a week doing various different exercises, jogging, calisthenics, and really they want to try and build up his upper body strength. Probably Senna is the stronger of the two drivers in the physical sense, and they're trying to get Berger into a condition to match that of Senna. So obviously what they've been doing over the last week has given them some sense of conditioning, and the performance was pretty impressive.
Well, that's Friday's action here on Eurosport. Join us again on Saturday for final qualifying. From John Watson and myself, Andrew Marriott, it's goodbye. Hard. Early in the session, he was down in 12th place, but then he put in a quick one and did a 1:17.227 to be fastest. Provisionally, he lines up alongside Nigel Mansell on the front row of the grid. Then it's Patrese, Senna, Martini, Modena and Alesi.
And Berger's about to enter the Peralta curve, 160 miles an hour, fifth gear, holding the car tight into the curbing all the way through the inside. Now the car drifts out to the curb. It's going to take sixth gear. And now the long run all the way down to this tight second gear hairpin at the end of the straight. The McLaren Honda reaching almost 195 miles an hour.
Thanks, John. Yes, well, Gerhard coming down into the braking area now for the very tight right-hander. And just look at that change of surface. His hands are blur at the wheel. And after that session, I was able to talk to Gerhard about his flying lap.
Yes, you have to get the car right if you want to be quickest, and it took a little bit time today.
What about that pole position lap? Perfect or near perfect?
Near perfect, but I think the more it's quicker, rubber comes down and then it will be quicker, so it starts again in front. But anyway, the car wasn't bad. I had a clear lap, I had no traffic. So, like usual, if you are quickest, it went right.
How are you coping with all the bumps?
Difficult.
Physically on you?
All right. I mean, you feel the air here. You feel it in air, in the engine and in yourself. But everybody have the same problem.
Another sensation of practice was this man, Piero Martini, in the Minardi from Italy. For the first half of the session, he was fastest. Finally, he finished up in 5th spot. And after the qualifying, I talked to him about that effort.
Yeah, I am happy for my car, and because we have worked a lot for this race, and now we have found a good balance for the car, and I am happy.
What about tomorrow? Can you go quicker tomorrow?
But, I think that we can do some better, but we have a Cosworth engine, and it is very difficult to go down off this time. I try, and I think that something I can found.
Hello and welcome to Saturday at the Mexican Grand Prix. Final qualifying coming up. John Watson, your comments so far?
Well, so far we've had a very strange day. Friday we had Gerhard Berger on pole. That may not be strange. Nigel Mansell second. But Ayrton Senna was back in 4th place. Now that's the most unusual thing I've seen happen at a Grand Prix for a very long time. And basically both the McLaren Hondas have been having a problem getting the balance of their car right on this circuit in Mexico. The trouble is they want to run a lot of downforce on the car to get it round the back side of the circuit, the very bumpy, twisty side. But down the straight the cars are slow. Even the horsepower the Honda engine produces isn't enough to overcome the drag of the downforce they're having to get on the car through the wings.
Another big story here this weekend is about the glass Lamborghini. That's the Mexican financed Formula One car being built by Lamborghini Engineering. The car was supposed to be demonstrated here on Sunday, but the big story is that the man behind the project, Mr. Gonzalez Luna, has disappeared. Lamborghini have got checks that have bounced, and the whole thing seems to be a very big mess. But there is one Mexican who's been around Grand Prix racing for a long time. He's now the coordinator at McLaren. His name's Joe Ramirez, and I talked to him a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, sure. It's always nice to go back home, especially for a Grand Prix. We had a very long period without a Grand Prix, and it's nice to be back there, and I hope to stay there for a few years.
Circuit's named Hermanos Rodríguez, the Rodríguez brothers, and you work with both of them. Tell us a little bit about those two famous drivers.
Mexico City, the Circuito Hermanos Rodríguez. We go immediately in car with Michele Alboreto. Qualifying has just commenced. So far, no quick times, John Watson, but we are suspecting times to tumble in this, the final qualifying dash for pole position.
Yes, indeed. The only man who's made some progress this afternoon is Ivan Capelli in the Leighton House, and he's not in the race. But so far, none of the people at the front of the grid have ventured out. They're really waiting for the out cloud to pass across, to blank out the sun, to allow the circuit to cool down slightly, because tyres are a problem. They're getting too hot, too early in the lap, and that is preventing those cars being able to go out and do quicker lap times than they were able to do in the slightly more cool day of Friday afternoon.
Well, here's a man that's been impressing us all weekend, Piero Martini, just 5'3", driving the Minardi Cosworth engine in the back. I believe they've done quite a bit of their own engine development, remapped the engine management system since the Canadian Grand Prix. They're absolutely delighted with the performance of the engine and the car. We're talking to Piero yesterday, and of course he is looking forward to the Ferrari engines, which will come next year, but meanwhile he's extracting the absolute maximum from this very well-balanced chassis. This team runs about 80 people compared with the sort of 170 staff of people like Williams. So it is really a small, compact team from Faenza in Italy, but they certainly know their racing. The man who owns the team actually is the longest-standing Fiat dealer in Italy, and that's one of the reasons that's helped them get the Ferrari engines for next year. But Minardi was fastest for the first 30 minutes of Friday's qualifying. This is his first flying lap now. Let's see if he can move up from 5th spot. John.
Well, he's decided not to move up at all. He's gone straight into the pits. Again, Minardi, Pirelli tyres, Martini, they've just got to go out, get a feel for the car with these conditions. The temperature has risen almost 10 degrees from when we stopped this morning, and Martini's like every other driver who are going to go out there to battle for their pole position or for the best grid position they can get. They have to do it knowing the car is at its best. So I'm sure Martini's going back into the garage. They'll put their Minardi up on jacks, have a little talk about it, make some small changes, and when they feel the time is right, and when Martini himself feels ready to go out and do it, you have to prepare yourself with a certain amount of striking involved in these laps. He will go out in another few moments' time.
This is Gerhard Berger, the fastest man around Mexico City so far. This is the final qualifying session. The minutes ticking away. Gerhard Berger, the fastest in this session. He was the fastest yesterday. He sits on pole position, and he sits in a position of strength, John.
Yes, it looks as if this afternoon, the Saturday afternoon qualifying session, is not going to see any significant changes, certainly out of the front of the grid. A few people at the back may claw their way into the race, and a few will slide out. But so far what we've seen is a track that is certainly half a second to possibly 1 second slower than Friday afternoon, and that is bad news for people like Ayrton Senna, for Piquet. Good news for Nigel Mansell, of course, he's on the front row of the grid. As we stand, I'm sure we're going to see him going out shortly. Being in the front row, being second to first, really is no big difference, other than purely the pride of the driver and the pride of the team.
Gerhard Berger still circulating. Just remind you of the 4 people not in the race currently. Ivan Capelli, Nicola Larini, who's still got a stomach upset, Alex Caffi and Mauricio Gugelmin. So 3 Italians there. They're in trouble. JJ Leto, the man still on the bubble. Berger comes back into the pits. Well, Fastest lap in this session to Gerhard. This is Sandro Nannini in the Benetton Ford. Plenty of power coming from that little V8. Ford proving the theory is wrong that you must have 10 or 12 cylinders to win Grand Prix racing, or at least they're hoping to prove it.
Yes, they are. In fact, at the next Grand Prix, they have a further phase of development with the V8 engine, and I think principally what it's all about is increasing the RPM of the engine. The engine currently revs to something like 12, a little over 12,000, and I think they're aiming to try and get that up to somewhere like 13,000 revs per minute, a colossal number of revolutions from an engine of a V8 capacity, and if it all works, it's going to be a major rethink, I think, for a lot of the engine people, because if a V8 engine can be made to compete with the multi-cylinder 10 and 12 cylinder engines, the advantages that a V8 has got in terms of the packaging in the back of a car is very much more advantageous, and it may well cause a reconsideration, rethought from people like Honda, Williams, Ferrari, and people coming in the future. Peugeot are making engines, Mercedes-Benz are making engines, Porsche are making engines. It'll be interesting to see what really does happen in 2 weeks' time with this Ford engine.
Yes, I think the word that sums up the V8, it's compact, nice compact little motor, lightweight of course. I know, John, you were trying to squeeze information out of Ron Dennis on Friday about engine revs on that Honda V12. Obviously V12's coming up, but the V10 presumably revving well over the 13,000 mark.
Well, Ron was reluctant to discuss it, obviously, because the technology that Honda have developed with their V10 engine, they're very keen not to just give out to people like you and me, because we then tell everybody else, and then the rest of the world gets to hear about it. But watching Berger doing that lap, and he was holding fifth gear for a length of time, which really, I mean, I'm saying, well, he's got to take six, So I assume that they're revving that engine certainly to 13,500, maybe even more than that, close to 14,000. And again, that is the technology that Honda have developed. And just getting the engine to rev, that is only one part of the problem. To get it to continue to develop power is the other part of the problem. And I think Honda are pretty well on top of that. But it didn't really, I mean, I thought Ron might have been a bit spendy and given us a clue. I mean, he is a mate after all.
Well, you used to drive for him, John, so you know him better than most. We think we've just had a quick time from Derek Warwick. It hasn't come up on our top 10 leaderboard yet, but I think Derek Warwick was in the 118, which would move him up to about 7th spot. Yes, 118.951 from Derek Warwick. He goes 8th. So one of the few drivers to make a major improvement today, Derek Warwick. We haven't seen his car yet, but this is another of the great British drivers, Nigel Mansell, the man from the Isle of Man. Currently on the front row of the grid with his time from yesterday, 117.9. Today his best so far, 118.3. And what can Nigel Mansell do this time? Well, the clock is ticking away. You can see it for yourselves, the time to remember, 117.9. That's what Nigel is trying to beat, John.
Well, I think he's done his one quick lap. This is a cruise back to the pits. He didn't improve. He'll go back again and think about it, see where changes may be made to his Ferrari. Can he improve the car? Or is he saying to himself, well, basically, I don't think the car is as quick as it was yesterday. Certainly the track conditions indicate they're not so fast, and well, we'll just watch Nigel. He may just be taking it easy, and when he approaches the corner, may again pick up speed and give it a second shot, but well, he's letting Cappy pass, so I suspect he's on his way back into the pits.
15 minutes of qualifying remaining, and here is a man who is definitely making progress. It is Derek Warwick. Derek has now moved up into the top 10, happy with the Lotus Lamborghini. During Friday, he was felt the car had too much understeer, pushing too much in the corners, but now Derek out on a quick lap. Still a man with a great deal to prove, Derek Warwick.
Derek's really looking for that elusive first Grand Prix that he's been unfortunate not to have. And back in '84 when he joined the Renault team, really that was the time of his career when he also been scoring Grand Prix, but of course on reliability and other factors
Yes, was the Brazilian Grand Prix that he led for Renault and had a suspension failure. He was absolutely romping away with that race. And who can forget when he passed the Ferrari with the Tolman in front of the main grandstand at Brands Hatch. I think it was the European Grand Prix. The whole grandstand stood and cheered him. A great moment for the Tolman team, which has subsequently become the Benetton team. A 1:19.260 for Derek Warwick. So no improvement there. He's already been in the 1:18. We go into the McLaren pits. There is the current standings. The 2 days combined. Berger still top of the list, 1:17.227. Then it's Mansell, Patrese, Senna, Martini, Modena and Alesi. No change at all in the top 7. Well, this is Gerhard Berger, just a few minutes of qualifying to run now, and can Gerhard Berger improve on his current pole position? We go in car with him, fighting at the steering wheel.
Yeah, down into 5th gear now. This is the back section of the circuit, and I think both his hands are going to stay firmly planted on the steering wheel there. No, he's not. He decided to take 6th. That's unusual. Back into 5th. Holding the car. He holds the car slightly higher in this corner than teammate Senna does, but looks a reasonably good lap. Back into 6th gear. 18.585. Well, he's over a second slower than the time from yesterday, and in fact this is a slower time than his first run this afternoon.
John, the computer showing us that his top speed was 307 kilometres an hour. What does that tell you about his rear wing setup?
It tells you that the rear wing, which you can see just behind his head, is set in a very low downforce position. And that is the reason, or part of the reason, why Gerhard Berger's car has sort of leapt forward about 4 or 5 kilometres per hour. And Thierry Boutsen saying that is now jumped into the 17s, 1:17.883.
Terry Boutsen goes on to the front row of the grid. We didn't see it on screen, but Terry Boutsen, the man that's moving forward now. A new front row of the grid. It's Gerhard Berger and Terry Boutsen. Mansell and Patrese on row 2. On row 3, Senna and Martini.
And as you say, that Ayrton Senna has now come out again on a new set of tyres, and this hopefully is going to be something to watch, because being in the 3rd row of the grid, well, that's a long way back now. I can't remember the last time he was on the 3rd row of the grid. The 2nd row of the grid, Senna, well, he had to see a little car through there. This is Senna looking for, as part of the track that is clear, he doesn't want slower cars around him. He'd be looking in his mirrors to see who is catching up to him and judging where he is on the track in relation to other cars, so that he can get the best chance of one single clear lap, the lap that is going to get him back onto his coveted front row position.
7 minutes of qualifying remaining. 7 minutes left for this man, Ayrton Senna, to keep up his astonishing qualifying record this season. He has been on pole position in the last 4 Grand Prix. Will he make it 5? We're going to find out in just a moment.
Yes, well, he's beginning to pick up speed. He's coming up the pit out the corner. Not coming into it quite as quickly as he would in a flying lap, but building up speed all the way around. Not sliding, and so an exit speed probably actually marginally higher than it would be on a flying lap. On the flying lap, the car is sliding in the corners, scrolling around. So on this exit speed, he may in fact have gotten a couple of miles an hour, because he will be able to carry all the way down the straight to the station zone into the right-hand corner, turning left. He said he looks more economical in the use of the circuit than Berger has been. Berger was very, very choppy and sliding around a great deal through there. Senna very much more in control.
Yes, 1:17.227, that's the time he has to beat. Senna on a quick lap. This is almost certainly his last chance to make pole position, to get his 47th career pole through those S's. Very hard work. A big crowd building up here at Mexico City. They love their motor racing. They'd love to have a Mexican Grand Prix driver again. Now on that short straight, and somebody might be in the Paralto to hold him up.
There is a car ahead of him, but it's sufficiently far to lock it in his way. Into 5th gear again. He was using 6 in the straight like Berger. I think they've changed the ratios from yesterday. Back into 6th, and this is going to be a very good lap. Back in the front row. Back in the front row now, McLaren. Front row. Berger still quicker from his yesterday's time. But Ayrton Senna with a 17.670.
Yes, Ayrton Senna goes second, bounces Thierry Boutsen back onto the second row of the grid. Let's just recap on the positions as this qualifying comes to a close.
And having just said that, Riccardo Patrese has put Senna back onto the second row of the grid with a time of 1 minute 17.498 in the closing minutes. Excitement now, we've got a yellow flag being waved. Cars are slowing down, there must be some incident, or maybe it's just because of Gugelman's car going very slowly. Senna pulling over, letting the other cars that were on a quicker lap get by. Senna having just done that lap, being told he's on the front row of the grid, within 10 seconds he was bumped back to the second row by Riccardo Patrese.
Well, their confirmation of the current standings, Berger and Patrese on the front row. Senna and Boutsen on row 2. Then it's Mansell, Martini and Piquet. The closing minutes of qualifying, Nigel Mansell with just a couple of minutes left. He's going for the quick one. Can he get the Ferrari back onto the front row of the grid?
He really held up very badly, one of the two Brabhams, which was on a qualifying lap, but he did it without any fear of hindrance to make sure that he had a clear run. This is the last lap of qualifying. When he comes past, I'm sure the checkered flag will be out. Oh, Mansell well sideways there. Absolutely sideways. You can get Formula 1 cars sliding, I tell you. That reminded me, well, probably reminded you, Andrew, of 1965 when racing cars raced and wheels that are probably less wide than those you get on a passenger car today.
What an exciting driver Nigel Mansell is. Rally style opposite lock from Nigel Mansell on this quick lap. This big attempt in the closing seconds of qualifying to get back on the front row of the grid. Currently it's Berger and Patrese on the front row. Nigel Mansell. Again he's sideways.
Oh, dear me, he nearly lost the car completely there. This is what might be described as maximum attack from Mansell.
Well, he's got quite a few cars in the way. Barilla there. Can he slip past Barilla? Into the power alpha now. We'll see what his time's going to look like, but I don't think he's going to improve. 14, 15, 16, 1:17.732 for Nigel Mansell. Mansell failed to improve. No, just a slight improvement, but he's still in fourth spot.
Yes, Mansell bumped Thierry Boutsen from the second row of the grid back to the third. And that lap, if Mansell had managed to, let's say, make it less exciting for him, I mean, wonderful for us to watch. Car control absolutely superb. But of course, all that sliding around opposite lock has meant that he lost maybe vital tenths of seconds. Mind you, starting in the second row beside his former adversary, Ayrton Senna, prophesies a reasonable race for Nigel Mansell.
Their confirmation then of qualifying. This is the way the grid is going to look. Berger and Patrese on the front row of the grid. On the second row, back on the second row, Senna and Mansell after that quick lap you've just seen. Then it's Thierry Boutsen. He was briefly on the front row of the grid, and Jean Alesi. And then it's Pierluigi Martini in 7th spot. In 8th, it's Nelson Piquet. 9th, Nakajima. 10th, Stefano Modena. 11th and 12th, the two Lotus of Warwick and Donnelly. In 13th spot, absolutely back there, Alain Prost. 14th spot to Chesris. 15th, Barilla. 16th, Nannini. 17th, Alboreto. And in 18th spot, Emanuele Pirro. 19th, Suzuki. In 20th spot, Griard. In 21st position, it's David Brabham. In 22nd spot, Philip Alliot. 23rd, Gregor Wojtek. 24th, Nicola Larini. In 25th spot, it's Roberto Moreno, I should say. And then in 26th spot, the man that's on the bubble that's just got into the race, Eric Bernard. That's if they can get two Lola Lamborghinis back together again for tomorrow. The four men who have missed out, very sadly, JJ Leto, Ivan Capelli, Mauricio Gugelman and Alex Caffey. So that is the lineup for Sunday's race. Watch it live, flag-to-flag coverage on Eurosport. And now we'll leave you with some of the hot action from the season so far. It's goodbye from John and goodbye from